So, all right, everybody, put your hands together for today's guest. Kxng Rxme! There he is! There he is! There he is! He's doing it. He's doing a dance.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. How we doing, people?
Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much, King Rome. Thank you so much, Your Majesty. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
I hope
Appreciate you.
I hope you're having a good day. Are you having a good day?
I'm blessed and highly favored. I'm so happy to be here. So excited to share this stage with you. I appreciate you having me on.
Of
I'm
course.
excited.
Oh yeah, man. Well, I appreciate you taking the time. You're a streamer. You're a producer, rapper. Now, are you mostly a rapper? Are you mostly a producer? Where do you lean?
So I'm a rapper first. Learn how to produce. To cut costs, actually, because beats are expensive. And listen, after producing for 10 years, I now know why. So shout out to all the producers out there.
Morgana, thank you. Morgana is the one who actually suggested you as a guest.
What's up, Morgana?
If it wasn't for Morgana, I wouldn't have known about King Room. But I'm glad that we got to meet. And I've been in a couple of your streams. You're very engaging. I could tell that you're a very intelligent human being. And thank you, Morgana, for making this happen. So I appreciate you, Morgana.
Thank you, Morgana.
So,
Bottom of my heart. Also, I have one other thank you.
Sure, please go. Let's go.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for the platform. Thank you to the We Speak English Good community, and thank you, Moving Dutchman, for the sub. I saw that.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's what I love about the Twitch community. Everybody's very polite for the most part, right? It's like everybody's very polite about stuff. Hey, OB Mike, what is
OB? That's my guy.
Welcome to the Fresh Fab. Thank you so much for that follow. I really appreciate that. And look at that pyramid go, man. That's this thing. I'm still finding new things that this emo wall does. You're welcome, and also to Jennifer for introducing me to you. Yo, Jennifer is gonna be on Wednesday. That's the one thing I forgot to mention in that intro, which was very quixotic in nature. But yeah, Jennifer is gonna be on. She is a peer counselor. She's a mental health advocate, and I'm very excited to talk to her on Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So
she's also amazing.
Yeah, have you been in her streams? I haven't.
Oh yeah. Jenny's awesome. Good friend of mine. Good friend of the kingdom. She's amazing.
Yeah. She has such a great little vibe going on over there, and I really dig it. I gotta catch one of her streams. She streams at the same time that I'm either at work or that my wife streams. So like, it's hard for me to get over there, but I'm gonna do it. Gosh darn it. Dab nabbit, I'm gonna do it. Well, you mentioned that that it was a money saver to start producing. So what ended up happening? What was that? What was the situation like? You were just like, I can't be spending all this money on production. I gotta figure this out.
Well, actually, here's the funniest part about it. I hadn't started spending money on beats yet, but how it went down was
I hadn't even spent money on beats yet. I just knew.
Yet, but I started shopping around. I was like, whoa. So yeah, I wrote my first song back when I was 12. I just turned 29, so do the math. That's 17 years. But in college is when I really started focusing on it and like really sharpening my sword. And one of my best friends in the entire world, who's also a artist, a mentor of sorts, I looked at him and he was always like 4 or 5 steps ahead of where I was at the time. And I was watching him create, like, I mean, this dude raps, sings. And then I'm like, yo, like, dude, where you get all these beats from? These beats are fire. Like, I'm out here on websites trying to find beats. And I'm like, yeah. So I'm asking him, like, his beats are my favorite beats I've ever heard. I'm like, where you get yours? He's like, he looked at me like I was an alien. He's like, I make them. I was like, the thought never even crossed my mind. I was like, huh? Wait, you make all that? And then you rap and sing on it? And I was like, I got to step up my game. So I was like, here are my options. I can fork out the bread. I could try to go about it shady and then have the producers chase after me. I could complain about it and do absolutely nothing. Or I can figure out how to do it myself.
I love those beats where like you could tell that they just ripped it right from YouTube or so.
Yeah.
It's like fattybeats.com. You know, every
purchase your tracks today.
yeah, right in the middle of their song, it's purchase your tracks at fattybeats.com, and he's just like going hard on it. That makes me laugh. That makes me laugh. But I don't know, man. Like I get the idea where I like the idea of course I appreciate people who pay for their beats. I appreciate people who get paid for the work they put into it. But there's something about that grind where it's just like, I got to get these verses out at any cost. You know what I mean? So there's something that I respect about it, you know, like they just like, they know that it sounds trashy. You know, it's garbage when you hear that purchase your beats at fattybeats.com in the middle of your verse, but it's like they had to get it out or they didn't know. Either way, they're just trying to get their shit out the door. You know what I mean? And that's what it's about, right? You got to like just, you're working on something, you're building towards something. And even if you start somewhere like that, it's just like if you're like 10 years in and you're still rapping over, you know, fattybeats.com, and you're still just ripping beats from YouTube, then we got a problem. But I think everybody needs to start somewhere. And I think it's easier now than ever for, at least for rappers, to find something to rap over and really work on their skill. So you started writing at 12, you said?
Yeah. So it was just us hanging out at the lunch table at recess. You know, the basketball court could only hold so many people, so the rest of, like I would hoop with my friends, but then there were some days I just didn't feel like getting sweaty or dirty, so I try to fit in at the cool kids table, and I didn't have no swag. I couldn't like, you know, I wasn't the cool kid. I didn't have the cool shoes or the cool toys or nothing, but I could make words rhyme, so that allowed me a seat at the table. So but we were 12 years old in middle school. We didn't have a whole lot of life experience, so we weren't really talking about nothing. We were writing songs about ho-hos and chicken and our favorite cartoons. So I don't want to like lead y'all to believe that I was out here crafting my magnum opus or anything. You know, I started putting words on pages.
I like chicken nuggets and Kool-Aid. Watch out, baby, here I come, cause I'm getting paid.
Yeah, paid in Smarties and Skittles, man. And, yo, I used to my mom she might be watching. She don't know this, but she would buy like she loves her Pepsi, and she'd have like cases of them in the fridge. So I'd sneak them to school. Like, you know, we weren't really allowed to drink soda at school. It was like forbidden back in the day. But I'd sneak a few in my coat, and I would sell them out at recess. So I was kind of getting paid. So. So it wasn't all cap when I said that in my rhymes.
I was getting paid off that Pepsi. Moving Dutchman, how dare you? Thank you so much.
We couldn't move Coke, but we could move Pepsi.
Moving keys of Pepsi. What's up? Moving Dutchman, thank you so much, buddy. Thank you for that gifted sub to Jennifer. I appreciate you.
Oh, Jenny's in the building. What's up,
Yeah, Jenny just popped in. She just followed and all that. Moving Dutchman is moving towards his 100 gifted subs. So he's on he's up here. He's out here working, son. He's out here working. So 97, 3 more to go, Moving Dutchman. Anytime you want me to play your special thing, you let me know before you hit 100. So Moving Dutchman is he said when he hits 100, he wants a new thing. He wants a new announcement, and so we got him set up. But he wants to wait till 100. So I'm gonna give it to him. But I'm more excited than he is about it, I guess. Like I'm just like, oh man, ready for this. But yeah, man, I love that. I love the idea that when kids get, you know, like I love the idea of kids gathering and kids doing, you know, like working on certain talents when really I suspect that you really didn't even know what you were working towards or even doing. You're just having fun.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that are just, you know, we're out here at the lunch table making it happen. You know, someone's hitting the table. you know, making some beats and you're just rapping over it, just doing whatever you're doing.
Exactly.
I love that. I love that innocence of art, you know, before it gets into like the business and, you know, and the grind of it. It's like there's just something beautiful and pure about just as when you're kids, you're just doing it, you're just making this thing happen, and it's there's no intentions really other than to just, you know, have fun or clown on your friends or talk about
Mm-hmm.
chicken nuggets, whatever it is, you know. I love that, man. Was that what it was for you?
That was the majority of it because, like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of life experience that I could pull from. Not only was I 12 and hadn't seen anything yet, but I was also a really sheltered kid, didn't get out much, didn't have any friends other than the ones that I sit at the lunch table with at school, and weren't
Mm.
a lot of kids in my neighborhood where I grew up. So it was just me and my sister. She was a little bit more of a social butterfly than I was. So,
Mm.
you know, please don't cry tears for me. It's not like I was going out there looking for them.
That's
But
right. Yeah, I feel you,
yeah.
man. I feel so. So you were kind of a shy kid. How were you sheltered? In what way?
You know, just private school upbringing. My parents, you know, they just wanted to, you know, they were doing their best to create the world that they wanted to see for us. So, you know, there's a big ugly world out there that we're all aware of, and they were just trying to like show us the world in their light through their
Mhm.
eyes. So, you know, wasn't allowed to watch certain things, wasn't allowed to listen to certain music. We were going to get to this point eventually, but I didn't even listen to rap until I was like 10, maybe 11 years old in the fourth grade. That was the first time I ever heard a rap song.
Wow.
And, you know, it wasn't at home that I heard that.
Right, 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 right.
So,
Jenny was
yeah, that's
sheltered
kind of what I
too.
meant by all that.
Hey, you know what? I gotta give it up to my parents. They tried. They tried to shelter me, but like it just didn't work. They worked so much. They worked their asses off. You know what I mean? And my mom's still working, honestly. But
Hell
it's
yeah.
like they worked their asses off. So like it was a lot of times it was just me and my sister, and my sister was just like the first rap song I ever heard was "Gin and Juice," Dr. Dre. You know, so like that was what we did. My dad didn't give a shit. He like my sister brought home Two Live Crew. And I swear to God, we were going to a karate tournament. Me and my sister were in, and the whole way we're just listening to "Ooh, me so horny, me so horny, me so horny, we love you long time," all the way to Wisconsin. And my dad didn't really give a shit what we were doing, and hey, damn rap songs were my lullabies growing up. Hey, you gotta give it up for that. That might be a good thing, unless it is a rap from a modern version of The Sound of Music. What? Yeah, they should. What's his name? The guy who did Hamilton. You should do a remix of The Sound of Music. Let's
Oh, yeah,
let's
yeah.
go.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
There you go. I remember
Yeah,
my
he's
mom's reaction.
special.
Yeah, no, that thing. For music, I don't really care for musicals, but I really grew into liking Hamilton. I remember my mom's reaction to seeing me learn to dance to my humps by Black, my lovely lady. Yo, you know what? It's that weird barrier I think that you have to break with your parents at one point where people are, you know, as you're coming up as a kid, there's always that generational gap because my father didn't really ever like rap music, but he understood that, you know, it's just another generation of music. And so he just sort of let it ride. Did your parents ever come into that? I mean, at what point were you allowed to sort of go and go on and listen to what you want and watch what you want?
Well, my dad still hasn't come around to it. I don't think he ever will. And to my mom, she'll listen to mine.
Yeah.
She'll listen to mine. That's about as far as she'll go with it. But as far as when did that change? When was I allowed to? Once I had buying power. Once it was my dollars going into it. Like, I mean, there's only so much you can control it. I got in a little trouble at one point, and my mom took my CDs from me, and you know, I was upset. I was like, the music isn't making me do this. I'm just built this way. But then, you know, in hindsight, she was right. You know, the images that they were projecting and the music that we listened to, like, I was seduced by it, and I wanted to be that. And let's just say not a life I need to be living. So
yeah, well, no, I mean, I remember listening to Master P when I was like 13, just like rolling through the Project Solar half ounce of cocaine. I'm just like, what the fuck?
and we as kids don't know what we saying. It just
Right, I'm
sounds
just rapping to it like, yeah, selling cocaine. What's up, TBB3 AST?
oh,
Welcome in.
TB Beast, that's my boy.
Oh, Beast, TBB Beast. Welcome in. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Oh, that's my guy. That's
no,
my brother.
listen, my mom didn't want me having tattoos either because she thought they represented the devil. I don't know. What about tattoos? Were your parents into tattoos?
Absolutely not. My mother is Southern Christian. My dad is Catholic. It's like your body is your temple.
Yeah.
You do not disrespect your body with tattoos. Now, am I into them? No, but like, I'm not mad at anybody for getting ink if that's your thing. It's just not my thing. I don't do needles, and I have commitment issues. So like doing something permanent, I don't know about all that. I did get piercings though, so got my ears pierced. That's about as far as I'll go.
Well, that's not too permanent, right? Like you could take that back, kind of.
Yeah. You see what I mean? Commitment issues.
Yeah, you could take that back a little bit. So what? Did you start working at like 16 or something? Like because you said it was buying power, so.
Yeah, so
your parents, that's pretty cool though. Your parents raised you responsible enough to be like, you know what, if you want your own shit, you gotta go out and get it. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it's always been that way. If you don't like what we eat, cook it yourself. If you want something, go get it. So yeah, my focus has always been like that. But I also come from a very supportive family. So like, did I always have everything I wanted? No. But did I ever need anything that I didn't have? No.
Yeah,
I always had everything I needed. And as a kid, you don't always see it that way. It's like, well, why can't I have that? Johnny has that. Well, that's their situation. My parents always made sure, no matter how hard it was, and we as kids don't see the work they putting in, but you know, I never needed anything. Like everything, all my basic needs were always taken care of.
Hey, Jonko Johnson, welcome in. Thank you so much for that follow. What's up? What's up? Welcome in. Thank you so much, yo, Jenny. What was did your parents influence you with music at all, or what kind of music did they listen to?
I didn't realize it at the time, but heavily, because I go back and look at what I listen to nowadays, and it had to come from somewhere. So I actually, here's what's funny. You know how Spotify does that rap thing at the end of every year, and it tells you exactly what you listen to. Well, my Spotify had the breakdown of a 65-year-old man. my top listened to artist was Santana. I think like smooth jazz was my highest listened to genre. After that, it was like classic rock. Hip hop didn't even make the top 5, except lo-fi beats was in there at number 4. It was insane. I was like, whose profile is this?
Yo, that's so funny. That's so funny. Yeah, that's a pretty eclectic range of music too, especially for someone who raps and creates and produces, especially at your level. It's like I guess that makes a lot of sense, because when you're talking about production and stuff, you have to be able to draw from like everything. You know what I mean? Like I always find like the best producers are people who have a wide range of music appreciation of all different genres, and people who are multi instrumentalists. I always find that they also have a really good feel for production. So your parents introduced you to a lot of classic rock and smooth jazz and stuff like that.
Motown, soul, all that.
That's dope.
Blues.
Yeah.
The one thing I just could never, and I know somebody's going to get upset. You can't please everybody. The one thing that I could never get into, and still to this day, I just can't do it. I'm sorry to all the country fans out there. It ain't for me.
I knew it. I knew it was coming. It
ain't for me.
Country. I feel you there. I do feel you. But over the years, as I've gotten old, because I'm old as shit now, but over the years, I've really become a fan of country. I really like the storytelling aspect of it. I mean, there's some really bogus ass shit that's out there, like me and my pickup truck and my torn blue jeans and fucking drinking Budweisers and beating my wife or whatever the situation is. It's like some of it's just garbage, right? It's just plain old. They're gonna repeat the same bullshit over and over again. But there is some really good stuff, especially like classic country.
Are we counting Johnny Cash?
Yeah, Johnny Cash, Hank,
James Taylor, Charlie Pride.
Charlie Pride is awesome. The classic country. Hank Williams Jr. Yes, indeed, illy doodly. What's the one that family tradition? Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Hank, why do you drink? Yes, Charlie Daniels is amazing.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah. And even that one, because I put on, so like I work in the kitchen and I can play I got a little Bluetooth speaker in there, and I'll just play everything. Like one morning it'll be like Al Green radio, next morning it'll be like classic country. Sometimes it's classical music, because sometimes I just can't deal with the world, and classical music is just perfect for that.
I love it.
And it's so it's like I don't know. I've been listening to the country station a lot, and even played like classic country hits, which is a Spotify playlist. And it had it had some old Shania songs on it, and had some old, just those like 90s hits, maybe even early 2000s, where it's like, because then I was just like, ugh. But I've always been a fan of Garth Brooks. I've always been a fan of Shania Twain and that kind of stuff. And then there's this one guy that I really dig. His name is Sturgill Simpson. And he sounds like Waylon Jennings, but he's from, he's from the past, 5 or 6 years. He is fantastic. But he also talks about taking acid and turtles and space and like, it's wild. It's wild. In any case,
it's like Bob Ross, but in music form.
I don't know if Bob Ross ever talked about taking acid and seeing turtles.
It's just a feeling I get watching him paint.
I agree. Bob Ross he's just such an enigma too. Like he's have you ever seen the documentary on him?
No, I haven't.
Me neither. In any case, so I really, you got to really give it up to your parents. My dad introduced me to jazz and like big band swing 70s and stuff. So you got to give it up to the parents for
Give me that foundation to build upon.
Yeah, man. And so then when did you start getting into rap and hip hop?
So yeah, my first song. And if you were trying to keep your kid away from rap, this is probably not the guy you want to be your gateway. But my very first song was Eminem.
Yes.
Without Me. Lord have mercy, the things he was saying in that song. And I didn't understand it at the time. And going back and listening to it now, I was like, ooh, that ain't aged well.
Yeah. No, it does not. But he still throws down, and you got to respect that.
I love Eminem. One of my biggest influences.
Yeah, man. Like his cadence was so different from everyone else's, and still is, and people just bite off it all the time. I was listening to the MGK diss track on him, and then hearing Eminem's response, and it's just like, oh my god, like MGK, just keep that shit to yourself. Like, no.
Like, first of all, like, why, bro? Like, haven't you studied the game? The greats don't even come at them. Yeah. They know better, and you're not great.
Not at all. And like the fact that he's like doing a diss track and then sort of biting his cadence in parts of it of the. Yeah, it's like, bro, you're not even like original in any sense of the word. It's like you don't bring anything to the table other than you drink what's her name's blood or something. I don't know what's her name.
You're cosplay.
Yeah. Cosplay. That's a good description of that dude. He is just cosplay. I don't know how he has any support, but everybody, there's a fan for everyone, I guess. But I am not one of them. But so you're getting into Eminem, and then you start writing your own rhymes and stuff. So how does it take off from there? Where you decide like, hey, I'm gonna be a rapper. I'm gonna do this.
It's so funny because like I've had different moments I can't really pinpoint one singular one where I was like, I could do this. It's just like I said, the irony is, because like everything I do in my music now is I try to put my own stamp on it and make it as unique to me, and do whatever I can to step away from whatever is the status quo. Whenever I in fact, like when I go into create mode, I turn off everything because I don't want it to like filter into what I'm doing. But that's not how I started. Remember, I told you I did it to fit in. But like as I kept sharpening my sword, as I kept, you know, studying and getting better at, I would watch how everybody that I was sitting there at the cool kids table doing it with started dropping off. Started dropping on it from a table full of us. Now it's a few of us. Now it's only a couple of us left really still doing this. I'm like, as they kind of started dropping off like flies, and I'm still out here like studying the game and bettering myself. I was like, maybe there's something here. And then, you know, I started getting into, so another one of my influences is Kanye. And I just like, I love the way he puts his projects together. There's always like a theme or a story or an arc or a gimmick. There's always something he's doing so that everything is connected. And I always try to emulate that in my own creation. So for me, it was always like, what story can I tell? And I guess the question, your question, I'm answering a question you didn't even ask, but the question you asked was, when did I decide like this was for me? There were a couple different points. There were like, when I was young, I told my cousin, you know, I might want to do this. And he was like, are you sure? It's really hard. And I was like, yeah, well, isn't anything in life? And he was like, you know, and it's so funny that, you know, all these years later, he's one of my biggest supporters, but he was one of the ones trying to talk me out of it. Then in college was a second arc. It's like, if my life was an anime, I'm in like season 3 or 4. College, when I went away to college, I was so sure, like, I'm going to be like the greatest rapper alive, and you can't tell me otherwise. Like, I am the hottest shit on the face of this planet. And I know a lot of you'll be like, well, that's just hip hop. You have to have that. You have to have that bravado, that arrogance, that confidence if you're going to do this. But no. You don't understand. I was like, you got to have it to like here. And I was all the way up here. I needed to be humbled by life, and life smacked me in the face. And there's a line by Eminem that always resonated with me. It's from the song "Till I Collapse." He said, well, now I can't remember, but basically he said, "To the day that I drop, you'll never say that I'm not killing them, and when I'm not, and you're just not feeling it." So he said, basically, he's saying like, if I don't have something to say, I'm not gonna like keep forcing it. Like, I'm not gonna rap for the sake of it. Like, if I don't have a story to tell, that was the point of the line. And I always lived by that same creed. Like, I really believe in that. And it got to a point where I ran out of juice, and because I ran out of stuff to say, because I was wearing a mask. I wasn't being authentic. I was playing a character. Like that dude that thought he was like the hottest shit in the world, that wasn't me. That was insecurity. Like that was overcompensating for insecurities. But it just became, it took on a life of its own, that my mind started believing it. But like, once you run out of things to say, it's like, well, how are you going to back that up? So I actually quit rapping for 4 years.
Oh, wow.
4 whole years. I just stuck to producing. And then, you know, I picked it back up around 2017, because that was when a lot of like this stuff has been going on throughout history, but you know, the coverage of the law enforcement issues we were having in our country were starting to get rampant again across the media.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there was a night I woke up, I had a dream. It was one of those, like, I believe in the meaning behind dreams, and sometimes, like, you know, we're being spoken to. And there was a dream where like it was like Moses from the Bible, you know, set my people free. And I was like, I gotta write this down. And that day, like to that point, like I was still new in my producing. It was so like, it was the best I could do just to make a song sound like a beat at that time.
Yeah.
And if it sounded cohesive, it was an accomplishment for me. Like I was kind of producing by accident back then, but this was the first time I ever sat down at my computer, came up with a beat, wrote the song, recorded it all in the same day, and it was a record called Moses, and I was like, huh, maybe I do still have it. And I was like, but I got to make sure whatever it is that I'm doing, there's a mission behind it. It can't just be I'm rapping because I'm the best rapper. Like, you can miss me with all that. There's got to be a mission behind it.
Yeah.
So it was at that point, 2017, I started rapping again, and on my birthday in 2018, I had just moved home, kind of reset my life. Things weren't going so great. I was 2 years out of college, struggling to figure out what I was doing professionally, and I was down bad and depressed. And on my 25th birthday in 2018, I looked myself in the mirror and made a decision. I said, I looked in the camera, not the camera, the mirror, looked myself in the eye and said, I'm not going to let you down. I'm choosing you. And because, I've seen people older, much, much, much older than me, looking back in life, talking about what they could have, should have, would have done. You know them folk at the barbershop.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I can't be that guy.
Yeah.
Whether I succeed at this or fail miserably, it's got to be done on my terms. So that's why I call, since 2018 on my birthday, I celebrate Rome Day every year, not just as my day of birth, but the day I chose myself. So like officially under the Rome kingdom, like 2018 is when like I knew.
Yeah. You said that life smacked you in the face that sort of got you off of rapping and stuff, and just what was it that hit you so hard that make you stop rapping?
I there's no I don't have a poetic way of saying this. I couldn't rap anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Like I would sit down and write and I couldn't come up with anything.
And was it like, would you write stuff and be like, this is garbage, or would you just like literally couldn't write anything?
I wouldn't get much further than 4 or 8 bars.
You'd be like, this sucks, I'm done.
Yeah, it's just like, and like I would literally, it's almost like when Samson cut his hair and lost his powers. It was like my mystical abilities had been drained from my body. But
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, in hindsight, it sucked at the time. I'm not going to sit here and act like it was fun, but it was necessary. It really put life into perspective. At that time, I had just picked up producing, and I was like, well, maybe I'll just be a producer. Like, and I had convinced myself, or at least attempted to convince myself, that I'll just be a producer. I'm happy with that. That's cool. I never thought I'd love producing, but it was an unintended byproduct of learning how to do it. I learned to love it. I was like, I'll just do this producing thing. And I'll always be around music, and if I can do the DJ Khaled thing, and maybe I'll jump on a verse from time to time just to show people he used to be a rapper. But it started with that dream in 2017, and then that commitment I made myself in 2018. But yeah, it was a rough period. Like I was really like not feeling myself in life.
Yeah. Where were you? Where because you said you moved back from home. Where were you at that time where you're just sort of floundering and not really having direction with your music?
So I was so this was between at least like my last couple years in college and my first couple years out. So this was like circa 2016. Well, I said I quit for 4 years, so this would have been around 2014 that I really stopped rapping. So I was still in college at the time. I was living in Philly. Great city, by the way. I love Philly. And after living in Philly, I was in Jersey for a little bit, commuting between Jersey and New York. And that's kind of where I had my first quote unquote break out of school. And on paper, if you looked at my life from an outsider's point of view, I was, doing all right. I had a college degree, really stacked resume, working in New York, everything you would think you want, right? But I was just dying on the inside because nothing felt right. I never felt appreciated in any of what I was doing. I didn't feel like I loved what I was doing.
What were you doing?
Public relations. That's what I got my degree in.
Oh, sweet.
It can be. It can also not be.
What in what field though in public relations? Like what were you working with? Like what, like some people work with, artists, some people work with companies and businesses. What field of PR were you in?
Finance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was also a great period in my life because I didn't know nothing about finance, but I knew PR. So it was like, PR is PR no matter where you do it.
Mm.
It's transferable skill sets. You just have to learn the knowledge base of whatever you're servicing. So it taught me a lot about finance, something which I'm pretty miserable at. So it taught me a lot, and it set the foundation of everything that I'm working towards now. I didn't realize it at the time, but it started opening my eyes to a world that I didn't see myself fitting into. And now it's like non-negotiable things that I'm going to work towards in the future. And then I was also doing a lot of events management, events services. That falls under that. You know, Communications is a very, very, very broad and unspecific field. There's a lot in it, and I've done, in my very short career, I've done a decent amount.
Yeah. No, isn't it funny that how all the things in life that you learn, whether you're into it or not, it all sort of culminates into, like all paths sort of run into one, right? Like it's just, there's something fucking, I don't know, there's something divine about it. There's something mystical about it where you're just going through life. And even if you hate what you're doing, even if you're just unappreciated, but you're still learning, some skills, you're learning something that's going to add to this, and that's the great thing about it is like if you're paying attention, it never stops, right? Like it never stops. It always keeps sort of feeding into that main goal. And that's one thing that I realize about life. Just I mean, again, I'm almost 40 now, so like I'm still learning. It's all still kind of coming together. You know what I mean? I'm still learning what works and what doesn't, and I always find it fascinating to hear when people are sort of, you're saying, hold on, give me a second. It's always interesting to hear when artists, I mean, because you're still young, man, you're still killing it out there. So like, it's awesome to see when people notice it and recognize it, and like you're saying, it's like you didn't know anything about finance, but now it's sort of coming back because this is music is if you want to be in music, if you want to participate in this, it's not just music, it's a music business, right? And so you got to understand music. Yeah, you got that, you're doing that, but then there's the business side, and I think that's what crushes a lot of people's spirits is like you don't really understand both sides of it, and it takes a long time to understand that. But yeah.
Yeah. And it's something I tell people all the time, anytime they'll listen. Every phase of your life, every job, wherever you are, is going to be part of your story. It's part of, so like, where I work now, I'm a manager, and I have young people under me, and I'm like, I know you might not like it here, you might not like what you're doing, but I promise you can take something from this wherever you're headed. I can pinpoint something from every job I've had, every class I've taken, okay, that's capped. There were a lot of useless classes along the way. That's a conversation for a different day. But every job I've had, pretty much every level of education I had, I can pinpoint something that I'm still using to this day to accomplish my goals. And something you said about how, you're a little older than me, but still learning. I am a firm believer in this. And if anybody is here from the kingdom, you've heard me say this 100 times. The day you stop learning is the day you stop living. That's a double entendre. Think about it.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot to that, man, because it's like you see it in like people who retire or people, well, you see it in some bad management, right? Like they've learned all they need to learn, so this is how they're gonna do it, and they're gonna, like, even if it's not, you see it even in musicians who sort of hit this stagnant point where they're not growing anymore, where they're just sort of putting out the same thing that they've been doing. And that's why I love Kanye West too, because he's always doing something different. And I love even when he's doing his marketing ploys and, like, wearing MAGA hats. I don't give a shit, son. Like, I don't care what Kanye does, because it's all going towards this bigger goal. And it's all going towards, I like this idea that Kanye has now where he's sort of like, he doesn't want to follow some narrative, right? Like, he's like, I'm not going to just follow some narrative because of the color of my skin or because I'm Christian or I'm doing this or that. He's like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do because that's who I am. And it's like, and he encourages everyone to do the same. And I agree that, and not that I agree with, MAGA or anything like that, but I can still like take a step back from all the bullshit that surrounds that red hat and see where he's coming from and see that he's not trying to fit into some mold for people to be like, oh yeah, there's Kanye doing the Kanye. He is constantly changing it up. Even even when he's making fun of Pete Davidson, that shit's amazing. Okay, this shit is amazing. So, to me, I feel like, once you stop learning, you stop living too, man. I agree with that completely, and that's a beautiful thing to tell your community, man, because you gotta keep it pushing, or else you're gonna get stagnant, stale, and what is that? What kind of life is that? That's how people die
It isn't
miserable.
life,
Yeah.
and that's part of the double entendre,
Right. Right.
because like so one half of it is literally the day I stopped living. The day I stopped learning is the day I stopped living.
Yeah.
When when my time comes. But also,
Right.
like, if I choose to stop improving upon myself, like, what even is life at that point?
Right.
Like, is it even life, or am I just like going through the motions? And I
Right.
don't want to just go through the motions. I want to get the most out of this very short, brief time that we have here. That we're blessed to be here, and I don't want to waste these gifts, because there's for our however many billions of people live on Earth right now. There's many billions more who have already gone on, who would trade places with us right now.
Yeah.
So let's not disrespect this gift that we have, which is the time that we have here, this beautiful life that we're living, that we're breathing. Is it perfect all the time? Rarely, but
Yeah.
it ain't about me. Perfect ain't the purpose, is another thing we say over there in the kingdom. It's like,
Mm.
let's just let's take what we have, be present, and make the most of it, and be appreciative of what we have, versus like, you know worrying about what we don't.
Yeah. No, I agree with that wholeheartedly, man. I mean, like, even today, you got to think that there are, like, there's a lot of people who hate on America, and like I know America's not perfect, but like when you think about people who are actually, there are actually like more slaves now than there ever has been in the history of mankind. They're like, to think that there's places in other countries where you can't go get a clean glass of water, which again, in this country, there's places where you can't get a clean glass of water. Flint, Michigan, what the fuck? What's going on
Mm-hmm.
with that? Let's step it up a bit, folks. But like, there's just, I don't know, there's a lack of appreciation, I think, in this country, or in this generation. Maybe it's the internet. I don't know what it is, but like, I think there is a lack of appreciation where people don't are not thankful for what they have. They're just sort of expecting more at all times. And I don't know, man. Maybe I just sound like an old crotchety guy now. It's like, these kids these days have no appreciation, but it's like, I really do feel like that, because I don't know if you've ever spent any time on Twitter. It's a fucking
I don't.
cesspool over there. But it's just like all these entitled assholes like telling people how to think, how to live. And again, going back to Kanye, I really appreciate that he's one person who's like, I'm not gonna follow these rules that you supposedly set for me, and then show appreciation for what we do have, because again, we could be living somewhere where they throw gays off the top of a skyscraper because they don't like what you do, or and not to say it doesn't happen here, folks, but I'm just saying, there are places where atrocities happen constantly on, and it's just a normal part of life. And again, I know that this country has a lot of work to do, a lot, but the fact that we're able to sort of to have a voice, and we can kind of find our way and find a path that to success in whatever you determine success to be. I feel like that's a very huge part about being in these, in first world countries. We'll just keep it like that. But it's like, I am very appreciative of what we have here. But again, lots of work to do. I don't know. How's that fall on your ears?
Um, uh, we feel very similar about a lot of those things. Um, it's part of why I want to get out and see so much more than what it is that we have here. And I feel like that would open people's eyes
Mm.
to how blessed we are. I want to travel a bit, and just to see that there's a world outside of us.
Yeah.
Um, because I think a lot of times we get so focused on us being the centrality of everything. Um, and that's another thing. Like, I do my best, and I've had to be a lot more selfish in recent times, just to protect my peace and my energy. But I do try to think about, my fellow, my neighbor, over, in addition to myself, not over myself. I used to put everybody before me. Um, and I'm working on that. But I do think outside of myself, and I think if we all took a time, just a little time to do that, we'd realize how simple, not easy, but simple a lot of these things are we could fix in society. Because I think a lot of our issues stem from me instead of we.
Yeah.
And no, I know I'm oversimplifying this, and to break this all down in a matter of seconds to answer one question would be a gross disservice to really tackling these issues. But just to like sum this down in a simple way, like I agree, like there does seem to be, at least I feel it too, a lack of appreciation for what there is versus what there isn't. And like you said, there's a lot of work to be done, and I think we should approach these things in bite-sized pieces, because trying to attack it all at once is too much of an undertaking. But hell, even days like today, Juneteenth, is a celebration of both how far we've come, but how much further we have to go. And days like today are commemorative of that. And like I mentioned in my community today, I said let's not let our ancestors' sacrifice go in vain. So be the bright light that you wish to see. And that's what I do my best to do. I'm not perfect. I'm far from it. And I slip up on occasion. But that's why, one of the, we set the gold standard of excellence in the kingdom. And one of the things is one of our mantras is hold each other accountable. So I have my community hold me accountable just as much as I do for them. So I do my best in not just in my words, but in my actions, try to be that light, that example for what I want to see in the world.
Yeah, well said, man. Like you got to be the reflection, right? You got to be the what you want to see. I would like that. Hey, Silverette Rose or Silveretta? Is that?
Oh yeah, Silveretta's here. Hey, what's up?
What's up, Silveretta? Thank you for being here. That is Rome. That is him, in the flesh. In the flesh.
The big sis right there.
Welcome,
awesome.
welcome in. We got a question from the chat, and I think that's it's something I was curious about as well. With the producing, did you also learn audio engineering, or do you mostly use DAWs for your work? So yeah, answer that, and I got so I'm guessing. So audio engineering and working with DAWs are kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, what DAWs did you start off on?
Here's a funny story. Buckle in for this one. So I had no concept of what recording was. So the first time I recorded anything, was I in the 8th grade?
I see. Okay, so she's asking if you were using hardware or software.
Oh, no. I have no experience working hardware, or analog or any of that. So I'm strictly digital, but I do have interest in learning it at some point.
And a DAW, for people that don't know, is a digital audio workstation, like Pro Tools or Logic or Fruity Loops or whatever, just so people know.
So so anybody who's familiar with recording, you'll get a little chuckle out of this. So when I first, I had been writing for a little bit, but I had never put a song together. So this was like maybe 8th grade, 9th grade. I'm just kicking it at the house alone. Nobody's at home, so I'm just like, probably saying things I shouldn't be saying. Looking over my shoulders, mom home yet? But I didn't know what a DAW was. I didn't know how people recorded. I just happened to find this little webcam audio recorder on it was like Windows Audio or Windows Webcam or something.
Yeah.
And an audio input recording thing in there. So I was like, oh, okay, I can put songs together. So I would go to these websites that sold beats, right? I would arm the recording thing on the desktop, click play on the beat. So it's playing out loud on the speakers. The mic is picking up the speaker audio. Then I'm rapping the whole song, every hook, every verse, one take, and then hitting, woo, the Nature Boy. So one taking the entire song, no concept of flow or anything. That's was how I was recording songs. Okay, they were horrible, as you'd probably expect.
Hey.
No audio quality, and then I get to high school, right? I'm doing this for a little bit. Still the same thing. I play a couple for my friends, and they're kind of they don't like it, but they're supporting me.
Yeah. Hey.
What's this hobby? He'll get over it at some point. Well, let's just
Winamp. Yeah.
Yeah. So then one of my friends, come to find out, he's doing his own little music thing. Shout out to my boy Richard. And he's like, yeah, just come over to my house. I'll show you how we do it. Because he was actually to me, he was making music that sounded good. I think we both can objectively look back on it now and be like, yeah, bro, we but compared to what I was doing, this was professional.
Yeah.
So he had Pro Tools.
Yeah.
And I don't know where he was getting his beats from, but he had Pro Tools, and he had a mic that he had gotten from somewhere. I don't know. And so he was actually recording into a DAW. I was like, oh, I don't know what any of this is, but okay, cool. So I'd go over to his house. We put some songs down. Most of them were pretty terrible, but we had ourselves a little rap group. There were 4 of us. He was doing the singing, and then there were 3 of us that considered ourselves rappers. So that was Pro Tools. Then when I got my own, I had my own little laptop. So I was using Acoustica Mixcraft because it was cheap. Still using my webcam mic. But then when I got my first job, this was summer of 10th grade. What do you do when you have no idea what you do? You look at the people that you have around you that do know what they're doing. So my boy had Pro Tools. I just thought that's what everybody used. I didn't know that there were different DAWs or whatever. There were levels to this. I just like, okay, he had Pro Tools, so I'll use Pro Tools at least. So if I need any help, I got somebody that knows what they're doing.
Right.
Did a 16-year-old with no audio training need to be spending $500 on Pro Tools? Probably not. Not as a gateway.
Yeah.
But that's what I did. So I used Pro Tools from the 10th grade through basically 2020.
Yo, that's not a bad way to start, though. You gotta say, I gotta say, I mean, Pro Tools is basically the industry standard. And I mean, but I know it's kind of changed in the past few years because people are into Logic and stuff too, and like it's kind of shifted a little bit from the Pro Tools, industry standard, but it is pretty much industry standard. So like to know that and to have that under your belt, I think that's that's great. I mean, you didn't need to do that, but like the fact that you didn't know what you were doing, like, and you just did that, I mean, it sets you up for success, further down the road. And so did you just use Pro Tools? You didn't use anything else like Reason or anything like that?
That was for recording. When I started producing. So I credit like my sophomore year of college is when I started to learn how to produce. And that's like the genesis of like when I started taking it seriously. But I had played around on like the free version of FL Studio in high school. So I was familiar with the layout and how to use the drum sampler. And so I used FL Studio to produce. Again, I used Mixcraft for a little bit because it was a cheaper option, but I didn't know what I was doing with it. Then I kind of got fed up with Pro Tools. I just didn't like the way they changed the program and stripped all the plugins out, and now you gotta buy everything individually that was already in here when I bought it the first. So I had Pro Tools LE8, then I upgraded to 10. When I upgraded to 12, everything that I had been using for the past however many years was gone, and I had to buy each plugin individually instead of them just being stock.
Oh fuck!
And they still had stuff in there you could use. It wasn't completely like torn down, but it's just like I didn't like it. So when I got my custom PC built back in 2020, I was like, it's kind of inefficient to produce in one DAW and then record in a different one and then be going back and forth. So I was like, I started doing research. What DAW can I both produce and record in comfortably? And again, you can do both in pretty much every DAW, but each one has its strengths and its weaknesses. So
absolutely.
Like I hate recording in FL, and producing in Pro Tools was just like, I'm good.
I feel that.
So I was like, what can I use where I can use both comfortably? And I fell upon Studio One. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And I can map the buttons just like Pro Tools. So it's not like I have to learn all new hotkeys. So I was like, I'm really cool with this. So when I bought my new computer, I installed Studio One and I was ready. I was just going to use this one DAW and do everything in Studio One. I made a couple beats in Studio One. It was cool. I liked it. And then a homie of mine passed me a deal I could not turn down. A legit copy of FL Studio 20. Paid for. We worked ourselves out a little situation, but it's paid for. It's legit. And I was like, I ain't about to say no.
Yeah. Hey,
it's something I've got 10 years of experience with. So,
right.
So I'm back to producing with FL Studio.
Okay. No,
working between two doors.
Hey, why not, man? I mean, if you know it, like I love, man, I really got into Ableton for a while, and the learning curve was such a bitch, but like, man, I really enjoyed it. And then I moved out of my studio and then into, and now I'm here in Ohio, but now I'm just straight Logic, and I don't really like producing in Logic. It's kind of a pain in the balls, but like I've learned what I'm doing, and it works with what I'm doing right now. So, I feel you, man. There's some programs that are like really great for doing both. There's some programs that are great for just like making beats. There's some programs that are just, that just suck. But I can't believe that Prody fucking did that. Yeah, how you gonna take away the plugins you've been using for like the last 10 years, and then you gotta pay for it now, bro? That's how we work it. I hate that. I hate it when people when these companies decide to choose greed over just like, why can't you just make your interface like simpler, or like make it better? Just like, why don't you improve upon it instead of making people pay for more stuff? And that's probably why a lot of people are switching out of Pro Tools too. They're just like, what kind of garbage is this? Is there any plugins that you really like using that are like third party that you bought?
Oh yes. I'm like, because I'm using FL Studio, so I'm Mr. Third Party over here. Yes, FL Studio has some great stuff built in. I'm not throwing shade, but
yeah, calm down, people. Calm down.
They do have their, but a lot of that stuff is like, if you're really heavy in sound design, which I am not, and don't have any desire to be.
Yeah,
I'd rather just get in and get out. Give me the presets, please.
Yeah, I feel you.
So I went heavy with the native instruments. So I got Contact and all the complete library. I bought was it 11 or 12? I think I have 11 and 12 complete. And then I've got Output. I love all the Output stuff, their entire suite. Arcade, I love, which is separate from their instrument engines, but Arcade is a beast. We call it the cheat code in the kingdom.
The cheat code.
Yeah, so I've recently gotten into using Anna 2, which is an analog synthesizer from Slate Digital. I got the Slate Digital All Access Pass. I got Isotope.
I love Isotope. Is that for your mastering, or
for the mixing and mastering? Yeah. So on that side of things, I really like Slate Digital. They got the virtual mix rack. I use that a lot, especially when working on my vocals. I use
they have great
Isotopes, Nectar, and what's the other one called? Neutron, Nectar and Neutron, and Ozone for mastering. Because I don't know much about mastering. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. There's no cap in the kingdom. We live on that code. So I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be any more of an expert than I am. Mastering, I haven't learned it yet. So Ozone helps out a lot.
Oh yeah, totally. No, I loved Isotope so much for mixing and mastering. It was just like it changed the game for me, because I'm kind of like you with the like, give me some presets, but I definitely am like, let's hear what these presets sound like, and then let's tweak from there, right?
Yeah,
like,
of course.
Right. It's not just like it's a one glove fits all, but it's definitely like a great place to start, especially if you're not completely versed in it. But I've gotten really good at mixing and mastering. I guess not great, but I've gotten I gotta slow down. I've gotten pretty decent at mixing and mastering and knowing what I'm doing. And so like but I a lot of it came from just learning how to use Isotope and using certain compression, and using like multi-band compression was huge for me once I learned what that did, because there's just so much to it, to mixing and mastering, because that's like a whole art of its own, right? Like there's mix houses, there's mastering houses, and production is totally different from all of that. So it's like, I feel like today you kind of have to take on all those roles if you
It's
really want.
exhausting, but you got to.
Yeah, I mean, how far do you go? Do you do like album design too? Do you do all your own
Everything in
stuff?
house.
Yeah, yeah.
Everything in house, even my graphic art. So all those covers you see on
Mm,
my music on Spotify, I designed them. I have so I'm big on giving credit where it's due. I have worked with other producers and engineers.
mm.
My first EP, Define Over Time, you can that was done at a friend's studio. He recorded, mixed, and mastered the whole thing. Did an excellent job, and I was sitting there watching and learning from him as we go, and I would still be going to him if time and scheduling and some other things
Yeah.
we had the flexibility to do so. But he's so great. His name's Animus. He's so great at what he does. I swear by him, and I learned a lot from him. But I had to make the decision that was best for me and go in-house with everything. What you're looking at right here is a studio I built with my own hands. I was
Yeah.
like, I took the same amount of money that I would put in a one session into the construction materials for this. I was like, I mean, I have the knowledge. It's a matter of doing it and putting in the reps, putting in the time and learning it.
Yeah.
And I made that decision literally right before the pandemic hit. So
Oh,
imagine had
man.
I not done that. I wouldn't be getting any music done.
Yeah, it's. I guess I'll wait until this is over until I can
Yeah.
keep going. I think that was the great thing about the pandemic, that it really allowed a lot of people, not everybody, but allowed a lot of people to sort of dig into whatever path they were on, right? Like I learned a lot about web design. I learned a lot about building my website, making a website work, building out my podcast, which which over the pandemic it like quadrupled. It was just like nuts. Like if it gave us the time to really dig in and understand what I'm doing, find sponsorship, Twitch, I mean the whole thing, making the podcast, it went from paying for this podcast to be online to where I'm getting paid to do the podcast now. So it's like the pandemic was so crucial for that. I don't know, was the pandemic good for you for that as well? Did you figure out some stuff? I mean,
Life
you had.
changing.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, life changing.
Mm.
While and I do not, I want to preface this next statement by saying I am not downplaying the severity of what the world went through.
Yeah, it's
It
terrible.
sucks that COVID hit us the way it did, but as far as like the pandemic aspect of it, or like the quarantine aspect of it, I should say, like the staying at home and not really getting out and interacting with folk, um, I feel like for those who are familiar with Dragon Ball Z, I feel like I was in the hyperbaric time chamber, and the last couple of years have allowed me to close the gap on a lot of my own growth. Like I feel like I grew maybe 5, 6 years in the last two,
Yeah.
just because of the focus time I had on myself, and and wasn't much else to do. So
Yeah.
I couldn't sit there and wallow in self pity. I had to make something of myself, and a lot of things I was preparing to do prior to the pandemic, I wasn't ready for. Like I
Yeah.
was about to start booking shows. I didn't even have a set list. I didn't even know how to perform. I just started performing in 2018.
Wow.
I was terrified for years to get on stage, and finally started doing it, and then got in my head, okay, let's start booking shows. You don't even know how to command. You don't even have stage presence. You talking about booking shows. You don't have an EPK. You talking about booking shows.
Yeah.
You don't have music out. You talking about booking shows.
Yeah. Yeah.
Who wants to see you? Nobody. And so I had to so in my mind, I don't know how I thought I was about to do this. Like start begging everybody, put me on their set.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you bring to the table, bruh? I didn't even have my brand together yet.
Right.
I couldn't even tell you what my purpose was. All that is figured out now.
What is your
Um,
purpose?
Well, I always start every stream by saying, "Welcome to the kingdom. My name is Rome. I make music for the dreamers, making your purpose my purpose." Which means if you have goals, dreams, aspirations, or any type of purpose that you're chasing, please come find yourself a seat at the table where you'll be uplifted, empowered, supported, but most importantly, held accountable, because we uphold the gold standard of excellence here in the kingdom. So what that means is I want to, again, this is all about being the example and putting your putting your actions where your mouth is.
Mm.
It's like, I chose me, and I want to prove myself right. I'm not worried about proving anybody wrong. Like that's living out of spite. I don't have any place in my heart for that. But I do want to prove myself right, and I want to show other people that they can prove themselves right. It doesn't have to be music. For a lot of people, it shouldn't be. But if you've got something you're chasing, and you're really, it's not just about following your dream, following your passion. Because a lot of, just keeping it real here, a lot of that stuff can be unrealistic. And we still have responsibilities in life, and we still have people that we're committed to, especially if we're raising families.
Mm-hmm.
But my point being, if you're willing to put in the time, the work, and the effort to make all your dreams come true, do it. If you fall flat on your face, do it anyway. Because you can stand on the fact that you did it your way and you put your time in, but you got to be willing to live with whatever the consequence is. But if you're cool with that, and you're understanding of the repercussions, go for it. Who's stopping you but you? Period. So that's what making your purpose my purpose is all about. Because I want to show that there is a way. You just gotta know what comes with that.
Yeah, that whole like follow your dreams and passions, that's such a blanket statement that assholes just tell people, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Which is why I'm careful about the way I phrase it.
No, I feel that, man. I feel it because some people are just like, yeah, follow your dreams and passion. Well, what does that mean? It's like some people don't even know what their passions are. Maybe some people never had the chance to discover that, or some people don't know what the steps are to get to those dreams and passions. You know what I mean? Like, do you know what your workflow is? Do you know how you work? Do you know what you're doing? Do you know what your brand is? Do you know what you're working for? Like, what is your goal? Do you have a goal? Is it just to be on stage in front of millions of people making millions of dollars with big booties in your face on Instagram all the time? Like, what is your goal? Like, what is it that you're trying to do? And it's like, they don't talk about like the work that goes into that, the hours of learning Pro Tools, the hours of getting your bars right, the hours of not just writing rhymes, but accumulating knowledge that people care about. Is like reading books and like, understanding yourself and protecting your energy and knowing what your energy is and like knowing what your potential is. It's like no one talks about the self-work and the mental health that you have to deal with. You know what I mean? Like no one talks about like how stressful this shit is. It's like, this is like I've toured for years, and like knowing what a tour is, knowing how to book a tour, knowing how to like what it is to go on tour, that shit is stressful. People think that musicians is just like, like they just show up, party, doing, drugs and hang out. Yeah, turn up all the time, bro. It's like I've gone on the road where I was straight keto diet, straight edge as fuck, right? And I'm on a tour with a reggae band who parties, smokes weed constantly, just doing the most. And I'm sitting here, it's like, well, I'm just going to go ahead and eat my peanuts, and you guys have fun eating your hamburgers and drinking beers while I, like, that alone, you're not sleeping well. Sometimes you're sleeping on wet floors, and there's a dog that's just like in your face, and like, like weirdos hanging around, like people coming and trying to like get into your circle while you're trying to prepare to go on stage. It's just like there's a lot to it. It's not just, show up, party, let's go. It's like finding that's somewhere to
y'all see.
Yeah, exactly. It's a fucking stressful bunch of shit, man. I don't particularly even like tour anymore. I love it, but like, God, man, I'm almost 40. I got a son, I got a wife over here. Like, it's like, I don't know. Like, it's too much for me these days. I'd rather just do the easiest gig I can do, and then give me the money, the most amount of money that I can get, and I'm done. Like I just like, that's what I love about Twitch, right? Twitch is great. Not that it's like, not that it equates to, it can, but not that it equates to the amount of income you can make going out and gigging. But it's definitely one of those things where it's like, come on, you pop on, you say hi, you do your thing, you talk, you chat, you play music, maybe whatever it is. Then you just you turn off your computer and you're done. There's no like pulling down speakers. There's no dealing with drunk people who are like, that was so awesome. Or like, like I work with my wife a lot. So they're just trying to like, hit on my wife or whatever the situation is, and trying to touch her hair or whatever. It's like, bro, back the fuck up. It's like, it's just, it's so much better. and like it's air conditioned in here, like there's no smoke bellowing in. I don't have to deal. There's no like weirdos staring at you for prolonged amounts of time that's just uncomfortable. It's a very comfortable space for me to be and perform and do what I like to do. Whereas, man, the road and gigs and booking shit and talking to people, there's a lot to it. And so, I mean, all that just to say is like, man, there's more to this shit than just pursue your passions, pursue your dreams. It's like you have to understand that there's a whole steps into the process, and know those steps and understand those steps and learn it to the best of your ability, because you're going to need it. You're going to need all that information you've been accumulating over the years, and you're going to need to put it into action, and you're going to have to like talk shit to people who don't want to pay you the full amount of money they owe you, and you're going to have to learn how to change a tire because you're gonna hit a fucking pothole in one of these shitty broke down cities, and you're gonna have to be out there in the rain cranking a fucking wrench trying to get your new tire on the van. It's crazy. It's crazy. And that's just one aspect of music, right? I mean, the aspect of music that you're going down is, well, you want to do performance as well, but the aspect of music that you're going down is like, I'm producing. So how do I get my music out there? Like sample packs, like how do I monetize this? How do you, who do you talk to get your money, to get your music and heard by people? How do I get on these playlists? How do you get on Spotify playlists? I mean, do you do Spotify playlists? How do you do that shit? It's like there's so much. Yeah, it's a lot to understand, and that's not even performing. That's not even performing. And then you want to expand it to performance. I mean, it's a whole fucking it's a mess. But understanding that if you want to pursue it, it's like you got to do this shit. You got to show up to work every day. You got to you really got to put in the time, the energy. You can learn this shit, because it's not just, hey, Sin Kill, welcome in.
Hey, Sin Kill in the building. What's up, homie?
Welcome. It's
DMV in the building.
We're going. It's definitely pursue your dreams and your passions, but understand what that is before you decide that I'm just gonna be fucking rapping big booties and limousines, whatever the situation is, So it's a lot, man. It's a full-time job if you treat it right, if you treat it like that, which you should.
Yeah, you have to if you really gonna be built for it, and it's a struggle. I'm not gonna sit here and paint it as if it were easy, because if it was, wouldn't we all be doing it? But
yeah,
I tell people all the time, this life ain't glamorous until it is, and
right.
Mine ain't glam yet. And what's glamorous for each person, it differs, because everybody's got different things that they're looking for. And I don't want mine to be, the quote unquote typical rapper, you know what I mean? Like what you were just describing. I mean, that's cool if that's your life, but like, I'm not out here trying to, perpetuate an image that isn't me.
Yeah.
And that was where it got so exhausting before, because I was wearing a mask long before COVID.
Yeah.
And it was so empowering to finally take it off and realize that, hey, back in the day, it's like all I ever wanted was to be liked and to fit in. And guess what? That hasn't changed. The only difference between me now and me then is I don't care if I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back then I was defeated if I tried to fit in the space and I didn't fit. Now it's just like, all right, if it ain't for me, it ain't for me, but I'm not going to prolong my presence in a place that is not deserving or befitting of my energy.
Yeah.
I just move over here. The people are out there. There are how many people in this world? Somebody's bound to rock with what I'm saying and what I'm about. And I'm out there looking for the tribe. And so be it if it takes me longer to find them, but I'm gonna find them, and we're gonna rock together, and we're gonna eat. If I eat, we eat. That's how we live in the kingdom.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And you mentioned you've dealt with bouts of depression and stuff. Like, is that something that you deal with a lot, or is it just certain times? I mean, I deal with depression all the time. I thank God that I allowed myself to start taking medications, because I hated medications. I refused to take medications for a long time. And then I found the right medication. It was like, oh shit, I guess this is what life is without waking up, and just feeling terrible about yourself and life all the time. I don't know. Like, is depression something that you deal with a lot, or is it just once in a while when you're going through something?
I guess a lot is relative. Like I go
Mm.
through it.
Yeah.
I deal with burnout a lot.
Ah.
Uh, I have one of my biggest struggles is
Mm.
pacing and consistency. Because I will really go hard. It's to the point where I had a friend literally to my face. He came over, um, and told me he was like, "You need to slow down. You need to take a day off." And I was like, "I can't." He was like, "I'm not joking. Like this isn't fun and games. Like I need you to take time off because I recognize in you what I saw in myself." And hearing that, yeah, I didn't want to hear it at the time, but he was right. And I always feel like I'm not doing enough.
Mm. Yeah, me
And
too.
there are times, I'm gonna keep it real, when I'm not doing enough. But there are other times when I'm like pushing myself to the brink of damn near death. Like I'm finally at a point in life now where I'm eating twice a day.
Oh,
Uh
good.
Sleep is still an issue,
Ah.
but at least I'm eating. But like there were legit times where I wasn't sleeping and I was not eating. And I was just head first in my work because I'd go to work, I go out and do my day job, and then I come here home and I'd work until it was time to go back to the day job. I might get an hour or two of sleep if that, and I'd forget to eat. And everybody kept asking me, "How can you forget to eat?" I was like, "I don't even think about it. I'm just
Yeah.
so intensely focused on what it is I'm doing. I can't think about anything outside of this in
Yeah.
front of me. It has to be finished." Um, Now, when I'm not busy working, all I do is eat. So maybe I need to find myself a little busier, but yeah, like I feel like that leads to that lends itself to burnout, and then my
Yeah.
mind just goes into places where I can't get myself out of the fun. Like I can't make
Mm.
myself do basic stuff. Like for me, everybody's depression manifests itself in different ways. For me, it's not a means of sadness or woe it's me.
Right.
It's just like my body shuts down
Yeah.
and my brain just doesn't even it can't even recognize regular as daily tasks,
Right. Yeah.
stuff that should be mundane and routine, and it's just like a struggle. And you know until recently I had to take myself out on a self-care day. Yesterday I went and took myself to the movies. I don't do that. Like I don't do things in public. But I had to just I had to release from the world a little bit just to treat myself every once in a while. Remind myself of, remember you were talking about the little kids at the lunch table and
Yeah.
how innocent and how fun that is. Like I have to remind myself of that kid
Yeah, man.
because it's not me up here. Like I might be sitting here talking to you, but it's that kid that's on the mic rapping.
Yeah.
It's that kid that's on stage performing, and I got to make sure I keep that kid fed and keep his spirit alive. So it's important that I make sure I prioritize myself, and that's why I have to be a little more selfish with my presence and my
Right.
time. And I say this with the utmost humility and respect, but my presence is a privilege, so I have to make sure that's known and make myself like make sure I'm prioritizing my health and in my future so that I can be that person for as many people that I want to be. But if I'm not taking care of myself, I can't be that beacon.
Yeah. No, I feel that, man. I feel that idea of burnout, that idea of just it gets to a point where you can't even function normally. It's like not eating, not sleeping. That was a big part of the pandemic for me, was because I became so obsessed with just building the podcast and getting it better and bigger and doing whatever I could to make it better. And I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't, I was eating because I definitely gained a bunch of weight, but that's also that's like a stress de facto for me too. Is just stuffing my feelings, yum yum yum, yummy feelings. So, I'll just sit there and eat all day. But yeah, man, it's definitely one of those things where you definitely have to learn how to protect be present and protect your energy, because it can easily get sucked out, or it can easily get diffused in all the myriad of things that you're concentrating in. um that idea of presence, man, that was a huge that was a huge discovery for me, this idea of being present and not, living in the future or living in the past, reliving things that were, over and over and over again, just going in a loop of making myself angry, making myself sad, making myself, making yourself crazy, like we harm ourselves when we get in those loops. And learning how to sort of bring yourself to presence is one of the biggest things that's really helped me, and diverting my own attention. So like if I'm like looping and learning how to catch those moments too, right? Like, because you'll be 2 hours into thinking, it's like, I can't believe that motherfucker cut me off today. That son of a bitch. Oh man, I'll fucking kill that motherfucker. Like you'll just sit there, loop that moment in your head, and that, getting cut off on the freeways, like whatever, but still, whatever the situation is, you'll loop that. And so like for me, I've had to learn how to divert my attention away from that. And whatever that is, it's whether that's bringing myself to presence or bringing or putting on a podcast or an audiobook or reading a book or watching a show or just whatever the situation is like I have to divert myself from that. What have you how do you come to presence? Because meditation was one of the big things for me, but what helped you discover and what helps you come to presence when you're in these moments?
This might sound a little crazy, but like just being amongst the kingdom, just being here on Twitch, being amongst, like-minded individuals, you know, more so when the camera's off, but just like finding myself in spaces of peace, like people who I find likeness with. I tried meditating and it helped for a little bit, but it just wasn't sustainably me.
Yeah.
For me, walking, I was
Huge.
running for a little while, and I do need to get back to that, but I injured myself trying to go too hard. I got intoxicated by my progress. Like I was hitting goals I hadn't even set yet.
Right.
But I was pushing myself a little too hard and ended up hurting myself. But I make sure I get my steps in. So like long walks. I don't find myself listening. Music used to be my escape, but I don't find myself listening to a lot of music these days.
Yeah.
Podcasts help. Just hearing calming voices. Anytime I get to tap into, passions of mine, which is few and far between because I'm so connected to everything I'm doing here that I don't have a lot of free time. But hell, just something as simple as watching the NBA finals last week was something I hadn't done in, a year because the finals last year. But like even, I'm a big sports fan and I haven't even been watching those just because I don't ever take time for myself. But recently I've been doing what I call self-care days, where I take a day of the week, grab my camera, find a nice spot in the city. I live in a beautiful city. I'm from DC.
DC is beautiful. I love that place.
Yeah.
Good food. Yeah,
underrated food city.
Yeah, dude,
find a nice pocket of the city and I just snap pics for a couple of hours and I listen to like a chill synthwave playlist and just forget that the world exists for that couple of hours and then go home and get right back to work.
Yeah, man. No, it's I would say that, that those things you mentioned are forms of meditation, right? Like meditation doesn't have to be sitting there with your legs folded, it doesn't have to be that, because for some people that shit is just, you can't. And I'm ADHD as fuck, so like that to me is so it's so hard for me. But like when I can zone in or when I have the chance, and it's been a while since I've been able to sort of say, I used to go to the gym, which exercise is a great form of meditation. I mean, and I'd go to the gym and sit in the sauna and really focus in on a meditation, just hardcore meditation, like your body's being stressed by heat and your mind is trying to find, peace and find, oneness and trying to clear it. And you're trying to go down that river, and sometimes your mind comes out of the river, but that's okay because you can go right back into it and keep floating, and you can let thoughts float by. But it was a really great way for me to do that, for me to just sort of zone out. I never would listen to music in there or podcasts or anything. It was always just me in my space. But but yeah, man, like you can find these different ways of meditation that aren't just sitting there and like oming out. You can being with your kingdom, right? Being on Twitch here, like that. There's been so many times where I'm setting up for Twitch or I'm sweating up for, which I do that too, but I'll be setting up for stream, and I'll just be like, I don't want to do this. Like, I suck. Like, things suck, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as I get in there, and as soon as you start chatting with your peeps, and you start, you find your flow, and you find your energy, like, man, afterwards there's nothing better. Like, it's like you connected with the world, and you're very present. You want to be present for your chat, and you want to be present for whatever you're talking about, whatever you're working on. And it changes your whole rest of the day. It's beautiful, man. I love Twitch for that too, man. Then they say, okay, now look back from the thought and find the self. Broke my brain. Yeah. Yeah. You can go down the rabbit hole in these sort of these meditation books, and these people who try to help you. And there's this guy named Ram Dass, that's very I really love hearing him talk and stuff. He has a great calming voice, but like, that shit breaks your brain, man. Sometimes you understand what he's saying, sometimes you don't, but just go with it, right? He did LSD. He was one of the people who introduced the United States to LSD. Him and Timothy Leary, and yep, the CIA test. Yep, yeah, man. It was Timothy Leary in the Harvard test with what's his real name? Ram Dass's real name was I can't remember his name, but he's a professor. He was a professor at Harvard. And then you had the merry pranksters on the West Coast who was just going around dosing everybody with the Grateful Dead. Alan Watts, thank you, Littlefinger. Alan Watts, yeah, they changed the country quite a bit. But there's a lot of people who say that was like a really irresponsible way to do acid. I think Terrence McKenna. Yeah, there was a few dudes. There was like 3 or 4 of them, right? They went down to Mexico, took some magic mushrooms. But there's like, I think Terrence McKenna was like, Timothy Leary was a terrible setback for LSD because of those movements, because the East Coast and West Coast had these movements. LSD became illegal, and it set back all the studies that we could have done. And just now are we starting to study. I don't know. Have you ever fucked around with hallucinogens?
Nah. No, I haven't. The closest I ever came, and this is not even anywhere close. Like this is like as close as DC is to LA. But I've hit a little gas every once in a while.
Hey, no, that's a dude. That shit could be a hallucinogen too, man. Have you ever ate like 100 milligrams and watched fucking the Wizard of Oz? That shit is fucking takes you to another world, son.
I've been there. So I'm relatively new to the sport. I didn't start till I was like 27, maybe 28. And it's better that it happened that way, because so. I'm a fully formed adult at this point versus like an impressionable young kid. So, I can say, okay, enough is enough. And it's very infrequent, because I found that, while it has it's for me personally, it just kind of makes me a little too unproductive. And then I get back in my head about, I'm not doing enough.
No, I feel you, man. I know that I absolutely agree with you. I think that 27 is probably the right age if you're going to start experimenting with. And I'm not saying experimenting with like, at 27 start doing heroin because I'm fully formed and I was like, fuck it, let's go. But no, like when you're messing with drugs like marijuana or LSD or stuff like that, and I would even say go fuck LSD, because that shit's chemical. You don't know where it came from. You don't know any of that shit. And I'm not saying that for anybody who's listening, I'm not suggesting you go out and do this at all. I'm just saying that that's not a bad way to go. See, I was exposed very young to weed. Like, I was smoking weed at 10. So like, yeah, I think of 10-year-olds now, and I'm just like, oh my God, like I couldn't imagine that. So like for me, I was very, it probably warped my little brain, which is whatever. But I was very young when I started experimenting with these mind altering drugs. So I agree completely. Like fucking wait. It's okay to wait. High school is probably not the time to start getting high and doing all these crazy shit. Just chill on it. Just chill. Are you much of a drinker at all?
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
And last week at my one of my best friend's bachelor parties, I was reminded why. But yeah, I had a little too much fun in undergrad. Fortunately, fortunately, nobody was harmed.
Yeah.
But it could have it was rough. So I made a decision. Actually, no, that decision was pretty much made for me. I had a friend cut me off,
Oh.
and that hurt. It hurt, and it forced me to make a change in my life,
Wow.
and it forced me to make a decision to get ahead of something before it got ahead of me,
Oh man.
because it was heading a bad way.
Yeah.
I was a little too loose with the alcohol, and
Too loose with the juice.
yeah, a little too loose with the juice, and it was getting to the point where I could have been putting actual lives in harm's way. So
Yeah, man.
I never operated any vehicles or any machinery. Like that's a very hard line that I draw. I will never. But
Wow.
I was as close as you can get
Yeah.
to, like it got pretty dangerous
You're a
at one
better
point.
man than me. I got DUI under my belt. Ugh, I'm fucking with you.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of. I'm not proud of that at all. What kind of drunk are you? Do you get blacked out? Are you friendly? Do you start getting
I
mouthy? What?
wasn't I wasn't friendly. Not back
Ah.
in the day. And see nowadays, so it's funny, like it hits my body long before it hits my brain, which
Hmm.
is why I thought I could go a lot harder than I really should have.
Yeah.
Because I'd be sitting there having a full conversation just like we are right now. Like I could be sitting here drunk right now, you'd never know it. But like
Mm.
once I go to stand up,
The
so
world
because of
shifts.
that, I thought my tolerance was a lot higher than it was, and I
Oof.
would go until like this guy was out of here.
Yeah.
And so nowadays it's like I just get sleepy.
Yeah.
It just puts me on my butt. But back in college, like I would get feisty,
Yeah.
and you can't tell from me sitting down, but I'm a larger than average human,
Hmm.
and so you factor that in the equation and get dangerous pretty quick.
Yeah.
Um, and I had a fascination for sharp objects.
Oh God. Oh, that's not good.
No, it
Golly.
wasn't. So,
No, man. That's not good at all. But so how old were you when you decided like I gotta chill out?
let's see, that was probably 22.
Wow, man, you just had great foresight, man. Like you could just tell your parents were like, just they. That's good. That's the thing about like being in a restrictive upbringing is like you sort of they imprint that notion. It's like don't be
Mm,
out there fucking around. Like
yeah.
you're locked down, bitch. Like I like that idea. I like that a lot because it's like and again, my parents were great. They were always working. I came up same way as like we never went without, but we definitely didn't have Nikes, and I had those Everlast from Kmart, son. You know what I mean? Though I
Yeah.
never had any brand name until I was well in high school, but like we never went without. And my God bless them, they both they just they supported us the best we could. But we had a lot of time on our hands as kids where we weren't being watched, and we took advantage of that shit. So, yeah, man, I love that you had the foresight and hats off to your parents for locking y'all down because that's like I think that's probably the safest way to go, right? Like you.
Well, to an extent. So I think my sister and I turned out all right.
Did your
If I
sister
do
was your
say,
sister wilding out though? Like, did I get that wrong, or were you both pretty
with
responsible?
respect to her privacy, yes. I wasn't around for that. She was
Ah,
younger, so I had already left the house for that phase.
gotcha.
But because Lord knows if I'd been around there, I might have had something to say about it. But the good thing, the to follow up on what you were saying about the parents, the one thing that really was solid about my parents was the credibility of their stances, because it's one thing to sit here and say like don't be going out drinking, don't be doing all that, and then sit around and you do the same thing. But you know there was never any of that in the household. Like neither of my parents drink. You know, I think I saw my mom drink for the first time when I was an adult. We shared a beer together. Like I never saw any of that, and my dad just refuses. But that's because alcoholism runs heavy in my family. So ironically, when I first went away to school, I didn't even go anywhere. I mean, you know how college kids get.
Oh
you
yeah.
know, not to I don't know what the statute of limitations is, but you know, people ain't waiting until 21.
Nah.
But when I first went away to school, I didn't go near the stuff because I was scared of it. I was scared based on my family history and how you know rampant it was on both sides. You know, I have it on both sides of my blood, so I was like, yeah, I ain't gonna do this.
Me too, man. Me too.
And that all went out the window that second year.
He's like, fuck it, let's go.
Started hanging around a different crowd, and my gateway was Everclear.
Oh my! Oh, whoa. God damn.
Gateway.
Oh God!
It only went downhill from there.
If anybody doesn't know what Everclear is, it's basically moonshine. It's like, what is it? Like 95% alcohol or something?
It's literal gasoline. Don't put that in your body.
No, it's fucking awful. It's so terrible. And Moving Dutchman, thank you so much for that gifted sub to Papacito. I appreciate that.
We're getting close.
Getting close. You got two more, and then we'll unleash the beast. No, man. There is like a balance, right? How dare you, Moving Dutchman? 100 subs!
Oh my
Let's
goodness.
Go!
I'm so honored that this happened.
Let's go! Let's go!
I got to be one of them.
95%. 100. Let's go! Thank you so much, Moving Dutchman. Okay, so Moving Dutchman has reached his 100, and so I got some for you, Moving Dutchman. This is for you. And the command for you for anytime you want, you can drop this shit. Hold on, let me turn on the stuff. Oh shit, I didn't do that right. Hold on. Here we go. This is for you. Command is !go MD. So this is for you anytime you show up and you want some of that love. So here we go.
Hello, Moving Dutchman. This is Gandalf. Thank you for all that you do for this channel, and always remember, a Moving Dutchman is never late, nor early, but arrives precisely when he means to.
There you go, buddy. Thank you so much, Moving Dutchman.
That was lit.
Thank you, Moving Dutchman. That's for you, buddy. I hope you liked it. We got that for you. Oh, I'm glad you love it, buddy. Well, thank you, Moving Dutchman. I appreciate you for real, man. Like you're awesome. Like I love your input. I love your presence here, and you know, you and Mighty holding it down. So I appreciate you. Yeah, that's where I got those. I was like, oh, he has those emotes, so I'm gonna go find that gift. But I'll have you know, Moving Dutchman, I searched for like an hour trying to find a good GIF from Lord of the Rings until I was like, well, fuck it, I'm just gonna do the one. So that's for you, Moving Dutchman. I appreciate you, my friend, and thank you for that 100 gift sub. So yeah, man, there is a balance though, right, with parents that that they can be too confining, right? Where it forces kids to rebel, right? Where they want to, where they're like, "Fuck you!" Like I'm gonna do what I want, anyways. It seems like you had did you ever have those moments of rebellion, or were you always just sort of locked down to that point where you're like, I fear them, or what? How did it work for you? Were you mostly just a good kid and you just stayed with the straight and narrow? I mean, how did that work out? Seems like your sister is a little bit more rebellious. But
I think even she would agree to that. I don't think I was adventurous enough to even test the boundaries. I mean, I did some stuff. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm an angel. It's a joke amongst my community. Like when I say I'm an angel, it's for the most part I was a good kid, but we all do stupid stuff.
Oh, right? Yeah.
Some stuff I'd prefer not to discuss on stream. I'd be more than happy to tell you about it off air. But I did my fair share of stupid stuff, but for the most part, I didn't give my parents too hard of a time. I was lousy in school. I think that was like the most frustrating thing I probably did, because and it wasn't because I wasn't, capable. I think that was the more frustrating part. It was that I was capable and was just, lowballing it.
Yeah.
And I went to private school, which means we paid for that. So, so I could understand their frustration. But yeah, that was the most trouble I gave my parents for real. Plus, I got away with anything that I actually did. Smart about it.
Hey, you got.
I've been a PR guy even before I studied it in school. I've been controlling my own narrative since a young age.
yo, you gotta be on top of it if you're gonna get away with it, baby. You gotta be on top of it. Man, no, you gotta give it up for the parents out there, though. It's not. So are your
the fathers today?
Hell yeah, man! Happy Daddy Day, everybody. I agree with that too, man. Are your parents still together?
Oh, hell no. Oh. Not since I was like 5 or 6 years old.
Oh, okay. I got you.
Actually, I can still remember, like, vaguely them being together. My sister, I don't think she knows the life of my parents together.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, but your dad was a huge presence still in your life.
Oh, yeah, for sure, yeah. I told him that today.
Oh, that's nice. That's really cool, man. No, you gotta give it up. I mean, even if it doesn't work out between the parents, you gotta give it up to the fathers who stick around, or mothers too. You know, like people who stay in. Like I couldn't imagine being like, even if me and my wife separate, I couldn't imagine being away from my son like that. It would kill me, man. Like I just could not pull myself to just get up and bounce. Like, fuck it. It's like I'll just start a new life and a new family. It's like, ugh, that's so weird. But hey, you know, different strokes for different folks. I gotta say, man, I really liked your 10,000 or 10K album, and you know, like, and I was reading into it a little bit, and you were touching on the Malcolm Gladwell book, Outliers, which I love that book. That is such a good book. Tell us more about it, and what inspired you from the book to release your EP, or is it EP or an album? I know there's
it's an EP just because you know,
6 songs or something.
Yeah, it's like the borderline on that is always so thin these days because ain't nobody doing albums anymore except for me. I am working on one, but that's a future thing. So funny story. It's actually next on my list, but I've been studying the concept of it for years. So like I said, I will never lie to y'all. So I haven't actually read it yet, but I know the concept around it, and I've read articles by Gladwell.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he's incredible, and I've read articles challenging Gladwell. So you know, I'm not one to just pick one side and be like, all right, that's it. Yeah. I like to see everything that's out there and then kind of make my own informed decisions based on that. But I think the concept of the 10,000 hours is one that's often misinterpreted or maybe not received as he had meant it, because you know, I think the world just loves to deal in absolutes. The world doesn't like nuance, or they like to willfully ignore it. So basically the concept of 10,000 hours is you know, anybody who's truly mastered their craft has put at least 10,000 hours into it. And you know, a lot of people will read into that, well, you know, well, LeBron James would have been in the NBA even if he didn't put in 10,000 hours. Oh, okay, maybe that's true because he's 6'8" and 250, but he wouldn't be arguably the greatest player of all time.
Right.
And in contrast, someone who spends 10,000 hours dribbling the rock might never make it to the league.
Right.
So we're not dealing in absolutes here.
Oh my gosh, mighty, how dare you? How dare all of you? Thank you so much for that gifted sub. I appreciate that. To Texas Lizard 86.
Hey, gotta love it. Gotta love them lizards.
Hey, Texas Lizards as well. Hey, Morby, welcome in. But yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah. We're not dealing in absolutes here.
Right.
So like, just putting 10,000 hours into something doesn't mean you're automatically destined for success. But what he's saying is those who are proficient at what they do have put in the time. Yeah. And that's essentially to oversimplify his point. That's what he's saying. You know, you got to put in the prerequisite hours, and those who master their craft weren't counting the hours. We're not. It's not like, okay, once I get to 10,000, I can stop. No, right. That's just opening the door.
Yeah.
You know, one of my favorite Chris Paul interviews. I'm a big basketball fan. He's like, you know, a lot of people get to the league and think they made it. Nah, you get to the league, it starts over.
Yeah. Now you're on the next hustle because now it's like you gotta maintain that,
you gotta stay.
And you gotta get better, or else you're gonna be traded off, or not used, or benched, whatever the
Or
situation.
out of here.
or are done. Yeah, no, it's interesting, and this goes for, like, I've talked to a lot of high level, musicians who play with, Snoop Dogg and Jhené Aiko, and just like, top line musicians who've been all over the world. It's like it doesn't just stop. You don't just make it to this level and you stop. It's like it's practice every day. It's like you have to maintain this and always strive for better. And I agree with that so much. That 10,000 hours thing is such a basic way of looking at it. But I mean, in the book, he talks about it a little bit more. He used the example of the Beatles, and they were in Luxembourg for a long time, and they learned how to hone their craft by playing at this, like, just a regular bar, and they're playing covers and stuff, but they were they had to learn how to attract a crowd because it would be in a bar, and they had to they would leave the door open so the people on the street would hear. So they would have to learn how to pull people in, keep people in their place, really learned how to become a cohesive band. And then so when they went back to England, they had already put in all these hours of, like, really working together at a high level. They knew how to work a crowd. They had all the pieces right there, and all they had to do was sort of, put out the album. And I think their first album was all covers, it was all covers of old blues songs and stuff. So it's like they knew how to play it, and they knew how to work it, and they killed it. And obviously the Beatles are the Beatles, but it takes more than just putting 10,000 hours into something. Like we were saying before, where you're following your passions and your dreams. It's not just like, oh, I'm following my passions and dreams, so I ignore my family and I just do whatever I want because this is my passion and dream. It's like, no, what goes into this? And by the way, family is a part of that as well. Is like maintaining your family, maintaining a unit, maintaining that life with your family is part of your pursuit. I think. I mean, some people just forget about their family and they're just like, fuck it, I'm doing me. But what goes into it? What focused study, right? Like, it wasn't just LeBron James was just, throwing the rock every, just whatever. It was like drills. It was like, he was practicing drills with his father. He was practicing, how to get around people, I don't know basketball very well. If you can't tell, I'm just terrible at this, but it wasn't just, he was throwing baskets and just, I can make a 3-pointer stuff. That was it. It was like this focused study, learning drill, learning different concepts, learning the strategy of the game. It's the same thing with music. It's like learning your instrument, focused study, focused learning. You're sitting there to a metronome over and over for hours and hours and hours and hours, which I lack that, but whatever. It's not just 10,000 hours and hey, I'm a pro. It's like it's 10,000 hours of very focused study and work. For you, like you hit your 10,000 and then you're on to another level, right? Like now you have to keep moving and growing because now you know how to work it. And now like your workflow, how you work, what you need to do to maintain that. Now it's like, how do I get to that next level? It's never just 10,000 and stop. It's never just like 10,000 hours of me, sitting here in front of a computer, like not really understanding how a DAW works, but I'm just sort of, okay, I guess I'm doing it. It's like, it's really, you have to focus, and it's not the same for everybody. And some people can accomplish that stuff in way less than 10,000 hours because there's some assholes out there who are just born fucking mutants and they could just do the shit. And it's like, fuck you for being alive, but that's just how it is, man. That's just how life is. It's like, it's not fair, right? Life isn't necessarily fair because LeBron James is, again, he's like, whatever, 6'8", 250 pounds. Like, that dude's been huge his whole life. He has that athletic, he has that on everyone. He's just built that way. He was just genetically built to be that. And then it was the fact that he was working his ass off to be a great basketball player. It was like two different things that kind of came together. It's like, it's not fair. So it's just the nature of life. And some people, again, will put in their 10,000 hours and they just don't have that genetic push, right? They just wasn't born with that genetics.
Predisposition.
Yes, and they just don't have it how LeBron James had it or Michael Jordan had it. So they just will never get past a certain point. And that's a very hard thing for a lot of people to accept. And it's a hard thing, you know. I wanted to be like a very virtuoso guitarist, you know, but at some point I was learning several different instruments at once. And at some point I'm just like, well, I don't know. I recognize in myself that I don't have the patience to get to that point. And where I excelled at was writing music and production and putting music, because I can hear all the parts. I can just put it together in my head and I can just sort of shit it out onto a computer or whatever I'm working at.
Yep.
So like that's where I was able to be like, oh, it all makes sense. Like I'm never going to be the best at pianist. I'm never going to be the best bassist. I'm never going to be the best guitarist. But I can be a really fantastic or the best, which I'm not saying I'm the best producer, but I can be really good at songwriting. I can be really good at production. I can be good at these things. And I don't have to sit there and be like, you know, why am I not better at piano? It's because I don't fucking want to be that good at piano. I don't fucking care anymore. Like, yeah, there's a certain part of me that wants to be great at it, but am I going to put in the time? No, I'm not sitting there running drills. I'm not sitting there with a metronome all day, every day. You know, it's like I've barely touched, I haven't touched a piano in months. And like, that's how sad it is for me. I was mostly a keyboardist before the pandemic came and took my job, but you know, whatever. In any case, yeah, I don't know. I was just sort of piggybacking off of you. I just went off there, but when you obviously with your album, you're making a statement that you've sort of hit this point. Is that kind of what you're talking about? I don't know if I'm misconstruing it, but like where are you coming from with this last EP?
So for the 10K EP, that was my central number for the year, just my focus on like hitting a bunch of different milestones. One of them I've already hit, and that was getting my first 10,000 plays on a record. And basically the statement I'm making with the project is that, okay, I've put in 10,000. Now it's time to start. Like I'm here now. But the clock resets. So there's the very first line of the first verse of the song 10K. There's a song on there on the EP also called 10K, and the first verse starts 10,000 hours, and I'm starting to feel like I belong here. And basically what I'm saying is like, okay, I finally don't feel like I have to justify my existence in this space. Like there was always kind of imposter syndrome. Yeah. When I walk into a room or introduce myself as an artist or producer, it was always like there was always a part of me that didn't quite like I had to present that bravado, I had to present that confidence, but inside it wasn't there. 10K is me finally staking not even my claim on the game. I'm not disrespectful. Like I know like there's a lot more that I have to do before I can make claims like that, but I no longer feel like I don't belong in a room. Yeah. And like I have a voice that can be lent to the conversation. Like I always try to downplay my existence in the space. Like, oh yeah, but like, you know, I'm all right with the producing. And I'm cool with the bars and everything. Now it's just like I know who I am as an artist. Right. And I know I'm putting in the work to get better. That's why I got the record on there called BMF. The baddest I'm up. Yeah, bad. It's not because it's not an empty blanket statement that I'm just, you know, I used to rap like that, where I just say things because that's what rappers do. You just, what is the most like, you know, rap is known for being over the top. What is the most over top thing I can say? But now it's like, I don't really have any desire to be that. I'm just telling my story. So when I wrote that record, it was more from the perspective of, I feel this way because of the work that I'm putting in. You might not see it, but I know I'm doing it. Yeah. And I want anybody else out there that's on that same type of energy to feel like that's their anthem. So that's kind of the energy behind 10K.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope, man. So you're working on something new. What you got cooking?
Oh, I'm always working on something. There's always something. Like I'm never not. I have a whiteboard over there that's that's for an album that's like 3 years away.
Yeah, no, I feel that, man.
Yeah, the next project that's going to come out is called Kingdom Come Volume 1.
Oh, sweet.
And yeah, it's a collection of records, collaborative records. Everything I put out to this point has pretty much been solo. I had one feature on 10K, and I don't think I've had any other features. I've been featured on people's stuff, but as far as the stuff I put out, I haven't really. Everything's been solo.
Yeah.
In fact, 10K was the first project I put out that was 100% self-produced, self-mixed. So like, it didn't even. I would have made a bigger deal out of that if I had known. I just didn't even pay any attention to that. I was just making music. It didn't feel out of the ordinary for me because that's just who I am now. I just do everything.
Yeah.
But there was a time when there were a lot of hands involved in the process that it didn't even register to me. But so Kingdom Come Volume 1, I wanted to go back to just working with people. Like I got collab verses, I got collab beats, and that'll be coming up on it's early July. I actually worked on it on my birthday stream.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I turned 29 and I was supposed to do a 29-hour stream. But I'm a maniac. I kept going. It ended up being like 32.
Oh wow. Oh wow. Shit, man. That's awesome, man. Those 24-hour streams are crazy. I mean, 29 is nuts too, but Reina did it, my wife did it, but I sat in for a good chunk of it, and man, that is crazy. It takes a lot out of you, man. How long did you sleep after that? 2 hours.
Yeah, I was at work the next day.
Yeah. Bro, to be young again. That
Oh no, I think I'm still recovering.
Yo, it took me seriously a couple weeks of just to get back on something. Esperando por arroz. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Waiting for what?
Waiting for the rice. Yeah. we made a parody of Waiting for Tonight by J-Lo, and it's waiting for the rice. Whoa. Yeah, it's all about cooking rice because sometimes the rice takes too long. Like if you're making Mexican rice, I'm Mexican, so like you make this Mexican rice, your beans are all done, your carnitas is all done. You're waiting for the fucking rice to steam, and you're just waiting for it. And so we made a whole. It's silly, but you know we have fun. We have fun.
That's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, yeah, man. Yeah, yo. So your new album is going to be Kingdom Come, and you're going to have more features, and you're going to have more collaborations. And so why did you only do solo stuff? I mean, was it just you just doing it? Was that something that you chose to do, or is it just something that happened?
Nah, I like working with people. It's just like I don't like waiting for people.
Yeah, no, dude, for real. Fuck waiting for people. I hate it. I hate for people send it back. Yeah, I'm working on it. Well, I'm moving on. Then it's like I can't take that shit. That's why when I find people that I can work with and they're quick and they can work with me and stuff, I'll stick with them. I'll just because I love that. I love it when people are like, here you go, I got it done, we're good. So.
But,
yeah,
I also respect it because, like, we're all working on a lot. So I gotta be respectful of that. And
of course.
It's so funny because situation matters. Because I was just telling somebody the other day that I used to have to beg to work with folk. Like I felt like I had to like present a resume every time I wanted to work with somebody. But now it's like it's overwhelming that I have to keep telling people like, yo, I got you. Just give me some time.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful place to be in, and I appreciate everybody that now wants to work with me. But now I'm realizing what it's like to be on the other side of that. It's like, oh damn, I gotta slow this down a little bit because now I'm the guy keeping people waiting.
Well, are you working on production for anybody else, or do you do that a lot, producing for other rappers at all, or are you mostly
making? It hasn't happened a lot yet. Primarily because most of my production ends up being for me.
Yeah.
But
it's like this is too good to be sending out to everybody.
I'm pulling a Kanye. He keep all the good beats for himself.
That's right. Let's go, yay.
but yeah, I've done, so actually the production I've done for other people wasn't so much for other artists, but for I've done stuff for some streamers, I've done stuff for some YouTubers, I've done stuff for live, like I mentioned in my prior experience as an events producer. I've got some context from that world, and I've done some music for their live events.
Oh, cool.
So I've done stuff behind the scenes that you'll never see on Spotify or SoundCloud or all that, but like, the check cleared. So
Yo, have you ever thought about doing like sync?
Of course. Yeah. Oh yes. And I've actually, and I don't know where you fall on this, because I like to make music that I want to make, but I found myself like making stuff specifically for the purpose of getting it licensed.
Yeah. Yo, sometimes you just follow trends, and sometimes that's easy, and I think sometimes that's a good exercise as well. Is just working on stuff that's gonna be what people like. Like a couple of years ago, I was talking to a guy who does a lot of sync work, and he was like, a couple of years ago, it was all about ukuleles. Like everybody wanted a ukulele song, and he said, I would just make stupid ukulele songs, and that's what was selling. People wanted that silly little ukulele, whatever. And it's just like you sort of follow the trends, and you know what's gonna work, and it's like I'm kind of finding out that with Instagram and stuff, because like right now this whole Amber Heard and Johnny Depp thing is hot, and every time I put something up with Amber Heard or Johnny Depp on my Instagram, it does fairly well, although the last one was kind of disappointing. I thought it was going to be, but I'm getting like 355K on a video of me just watching a video. So it's like I'm loving that. It's like 25, 55K. And sometimes it's just me clowning on Amber Heard because, well, we all know she's a liar now. But it's like a very interesting thing where you just, and Justin Bieber did really well. The video I did with Justin Bieber, because he has face paralysis right now. So we do like music news when we don't have guests on. And so I've been just taking clips of that, and it's been really working. So I'm starting to understand how the algorithms work towards that. Anytime I want to say anything poignant or criticizing power, of course, that gets 0 plays because, no one wants, no algorithm that is controlled by the powers that be wants to hear criticism about themselves. But hey, I learned to keep my mouth shut and just play into the game. Which sounds
play
like
the game till you are the game is something I live by.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. So I don't know, man. Yeah, the sync stuff is cool. Oh boy, calm down, Morby. So when did you start streaming on Twitch? And we're wrapping up here, so we're gonna. I gotta pee. So
September 28th, 2021.
Oh wow. Okay, so you're coming up on a year.
Yeah, 9 months on the 28th.
Nice, man. And you've just been finding what have you been what has been like a pee time? I love that emote, Morby. Whose emote is that? Who is
I'll be seeing the wildest emotes in chat. It's amazing. I love when people come in with I love to see what other emotes people got out here. It's funny to me.
Oh yeah, man. It's amazing. I've been loving the booty ones lately where they
the Among Us twerking.
Yes, yeah, that shit. I've been loving the twerking ones. That's been going for a while now, but like when that came on the scene, I was like, yes, booties, shaking, emotes. What have you been, besides sort of finding your own form of meditation through the stream, have you seen any kind of other benefits from streaming on Twitch that you can quantify?
Yeah, it's just been it's been such a humbling experience because I kind of just, my whole existence on Twitch was sort of accidental. A homie of mine jumped on the platform, and I literally only created an account to follow him. I was like, damn, you got me creating another account, bro.
I know, right?
Another login, bro. But this is a homie that I would follow to the end of the earth. So like. And ironically enough, he just popped his head back out from underground. He's got something new I gotta follow. So, but no, like my entire existence on Twitch was just to support him. So I'm gonna shout his name out if that's cool.
Sure.
Jack in the way, that is my guy. So you have him to thank for me even being here, because I only created a Twitch account to follow him, and then I started watching how like he was cooking up on stream. And I was like, oh, this is cool. And like literally people in his chat are telling him which knobs to turn.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that might actually be useful.
Yeah.
So I just started taking notes. 9 months later, so I followed him in January of last year. I didn't start streaming until September because me, I'm not the jump in the deep end type. I gotta dip my toe in the water, see how the temperature feels, then kind of take a couple steps, and then I start swimming. That's how
Same, man. No, my wife started streaming, and then like 2 or 3 months later, I started streaming because I was like, this is too fun. This is too cool.
Right.
I gotta get on this. Yeah.
But what's been really great about it is like I've seen that even me, little old me in my small tiny way, has been able to impact people.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was on the bed in January of this year, I was knocked out for a week with COVID. And I was lying on the couch, right? I know you can't see it. I'm pointing over to something that you can't see, but there's a couch over there in the studio. And I'm lying there. I'm just like messed up. And I get a message from somebody in my community that says, who had at the time, no point in divulging their personal info, but like was going through some stuff and said that I and one other streamer that we know in common gave them hope, like let them know that life's worth living. And I'm sitting there reading that in my little self-pity fit, and I'm like, nope, I'm getting up, I'm getting on stream. Like how can I receive a message like that and not keep doing what I'm doing?
Yeah.
And I always like, and we get obsessed with the numbers. I had to start turning my viewer count off because
fuck that number. Fuck that number.
I had to turn the viewer count off because it's like I want to make sure I'm giving everybody the same energy. You know what I mean? But it's easy to get caught up in the numbers of it all. But at the end of the day, like I truly believe that whether I'm impacting 1 or 1,000, like it's worth it. And so seeing stuff like that, and I've gotten other messages and people telling me of small ways that I've either inspired them or impacted them or made them want to be better in some way, shape, or form. And you know what that does in return? Makes me want to be better. Makes me want to keep being better and keep working on myself. So that's one thing, like an unintended side effect of what Twitch has brought me. It's helped with the audience of my music, which was the ultimate goal. But like I've built friendships here. I'm meeting awesome people, getting to share spaces like right here on We Speak English Good. Like these are those moments that like if you had told me just 2 years ago or hell 4 years ago when I made the decision to pursue this, that I'd be sitting here doing stuff like this, having my voice heard by people I've never had the pleasure of meeting yet.
Yeah.
I'd be so overwhelmed by it. I wouldn't even know how to respond.
Yeah, yeah, for real, man. Yeah, it's such a cool platform in that sense where you get to really touch people and you get to meet people from all over the world and you feel like you get to know people like these are my friends. You know what I mean? Like I haven't seen the picture of some of the people that hang out here, but like they're my friends. I don't even know where they're at sometimes, but they're like the homies, and like I just appreciate it, and I appreciate the brutal honesty that comes from them. Like the support when I'm feeling like shit. Like it's so cool to be able to connect to the whole world in that sense. And I don't know if there's another platform that shares that. I mean, YouTube is kind of a dumpster fire for live streaming, but people find their way. I don't know, like TikTok I've been noticing is kind of cool for live stream, but that seems like a dumpster fire in its own sense. So, I mean, there's nothing really like Twitch where you get to, where you get to share in moments like this, and they have it really set up really cool where, with these personalized emotes and, these just different things you can do to shout people out, like being able to make a little shout out for Moving Dutchman and stuff. Oh, what's up? We got a question for the guests. What's good all? So,
hey, what's up, Kxng Rxme?
What is up, Kxng Rxme? Thank you for being here. Okay, so we're at the end here. Yeah, it's a hot boy summer. We're getting to the end here. Is there anything you want to leave us on? Any words that you want to depart on, King Rome?
Absolutely, and it's one of my favorite phrases. If you're part of the kingdom, you've heard this, but for those of you who might be new, I mentioned it earlier, but we live on this defined over time. It basically states that you're no longer your past, you're not yet your future. You're exactly who you're supposed to be in this moment today. Your path is yours alone, yours, uniquely yours. It's harder, easier said than done. Try not to compare your life to someone else's. Just live your path, do your best to put one foot forward, be better than you were yesterday. And that's really all you can ask for out of life. And I'm gonna leave you on this. Just like I challenge my community, I'm gonna challenge you to be great today and every day, because I believe in you. I just need you to believe in you.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. We're straight to the heart. Everybody, go follow King Rome. I put the link in the chat. And if you're listening on the audio side, make sure you go in the show notes and give your boy a follow. Go check out his streams. Go check out his music. 10K is out now. Go listen to it. Go stream it up so you can get a nice check when this quarter's over. Go give him some love, everybody. Thank you so much for those claps, Morgana. Yeah, dude, I had such a great time chatting with you, man. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your truths and your ideas with us. And I just had a blast, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you so much for sharing the platform.
No
thank
doubt,
you to
man.
your community for having me, for being such a great audience, and for supporting Mike, man. Like y'all are the driving force behind all this. Like I always tell my community, there ain't no me without we.
Yeah, agreed. All right, everybody, give King Rome a round of applause. Let's go. Thanks, man. I appreciate you. I'll be talking to you soon, man.
Yes, thank
you. All right, y'all. All right. King Rome, everybody. Make sure you're giving him a follow. I absolutely had a wonderful time chatting with King Rome. And because we're over here, we're gonna do another thing, because this is, again, I want